Not sure if anyone's ever talked about fires and fevers in the same context. I'm going to try because I've always tried to make the connections between everything and see the bigger picture and the whole. I was never really that keen on digressing separations of life. So yeah, what are the commonalities between fires, especially wildfires, and fevers? I'm going to defend both. Both get a bad rap, and I love defending an underdog. I love defending something that people think is bad. Actually, it's really good. So, wildfires. So why is it that plants made themselves, evolved, whatever, however you like to see it, why are they the most combustible entities known on planet Earth? Surely, if it was not good for them, the plants who were less combustible, less likely to be set on fire, would have out-survived the more combustible plants. That's not the case. The ability to be set on fire seems to run rife in the genetics of all plants. And if that's the case, and if we believe in evolution, then it must be there for a good reason. It must be there for the good of the species. Maybe not to that individual plant, but a plant does not think of itself as an individual as humans think of themselves as individuals. It thinks of itself as connected to the whole. So, wildfires then, what's the purpose of plants keeping that trigger of being set alight on? Well, there's a perfect chain of events that goes on. And that is, if we think of a really humid rainforest. It's humid because a plant breathes out oxygen, and when there's more plants, the more oxygen that's going to go out. And when the oxygen reaches a certain level, it's very muggy and humid. And what does a humid environment trigger? A thunderstorm. And what happens in a thunderstorm? Lightning. And how do wildfires naturally ignite? Lightning, striking a tree, the ground, whatever. Wildfire happens. Oh no, all the rainforests are burning. It's like they've been burning for millions of years. They've been going through periods of far more burning than this one, as we don't allow it. We stop it in its tracks. Control. We can't let nature be fire. Is it how you can't get more natural than fire? It's an essential element. It wants to balance itself with water, air, earth. But it can't be balanced if it's never allowed to do its thing. And so why is it good for the plants to be burnt? One might ask. Well, many indigenous tribes saw the benefit in it, so much so that they didn't wait for lightning to strike. They started burning patches of land themselves, because they saw after the burning had happened, the species diversity increases. Naturally, obviously, that would be the case, because if you've had hundreds of years, you're going to get some species of plant, the taller ones, that are more dominant and shade the sunlight essentially from any new ones that want to grow, any new pioneers, any new species. They don't get a foothold because they have these dominating trees. sometimes it's time to go. And so the best way to get them all out at once is to have a fire. The soil that's full of ash is so fertile, and all these new types of plants and fruits are able to grow because they can all see the sunshine in this space. This is a natural cycle. It doesn't go on a lot anymore because we stop it, because we're scared of wildfires and we try and blame it on humans when they've always happened. Now, the frequency of wildfires has increased, and there's one really good and obvious reason for that, and that's because if you don't allow a forest to burn as it would have naturally burnt, say a large patch of it, then, and it only burned, say, a little bit, then the same perfect conditions for fire are still there, and that is high humidity plus a large amount of combustibles. When those two mix, a thunderstorm happens, the fire starts again. Whereas if we think of what would have happened before humans had helicopters and fire engines and the fire just burnt and then stopped, well, it would have burnt a larger area of land. The oxygen levels would go drastically down because the trees aren't producing it anymore because they're not there. And so it all goes down to a base level, a reset again. And then the new shoots come up. Spring happens, the cycle. Modern man seems to be obsessed with keeping things the same, linear, nothing can change, and seeing nature and its forces as dangerous or bad. Whereas in fact, now we can look at it with new light and see wildfires as an essential good thing that promotes species diversity. Trees want it so much they make themselves combustible. Because it is better for all plant life for the old to die and the new to come up. It is never good if the old just stay old and new life isn't allowed to come up. When has that ever been healthy? New life needs to come up as a recycling game. Wildfires allow plants to do this. Thank you, wildfires. So let's link it now to fevers, another thing which gets meddled with and suppressed. So if we ever have a sickness, one of the common symptoms, not always, is that our body raises its own temperature. And for some reason, there are medications out there to immediately then reduce the fever, because it sees the fever as the villain and not the alien microbe that has come in. Now, what the fever is doing is raising the body's temperature to make it inhospitable for this new bad bacteria, microbe, whatever it is. That's one way of looking at it. And so when it's too hot for that microbe to survive, it just dies off straight away. If you have a good, strong fever, you're allowed to happen, usually only lasts for an afternoon. Many of the other symptoms then go away. If we think of a sneeze isn't the issue. The sneeze is the way of getting the bad thing in us out. Same with what coughing is the same. Runny nose, whatever, diarrhea. All are mechanisms of getting the buggers out. Yet we try and suppress all the symptoms and then wonder why illnesses go on for weeks. If the body is allowed to express innately how it's meant to express, especially the immune system, sickness doesn't last at all. We can liken a fever to a sauna even. So there are fields of thought that say there are no germs, don't exist. There are no bad microbes. Viruses are like pieces of code which are essentially, if we believe in them, then they might affect us. If we don't believe that they can affect us, then they can't. Because everything is consciousness, everything is information, and nothing is actually materially real. So, okay, if we look at it from that perspective, and actually there aren't any germs anywhere, it's just a belief system that there are, why would a body produce a fever then? And another thought form is if the body has been around too many toxins. So in the winter time, we tend to get more sick. But what else happens, especially in that autumn, September, October, November, winter time? It's less sunshine, so we haven't got, as much energy. But also it rains more, and in many countries where it rains, mold is a problem. And mold, it spews out all of its stuff as soon as moisture gets to it. And so what would the body do then if mold is going into it, or any kind of new pollutant, as it would do in a sauna? What we do in a sauna, we go in a sauna, why? To detox, sweat the toxins out. We don't even need to invest in a sauna because our body does its own internal sauna for us if we just let it. We sweat, we get hot, and it's a form of detox. So all of these hot bad boys are actually good for us.